All right. So I know Brian Daboll isn't Ben Johnson, so you can't get that excited about it.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. Dude, the Daboll thing is crazy to me.
So let's get to the Daboll thing. So Daboll, for those who didn't see it, Daboll is interviewing today. If you're listening with
today being
Tuesday, yes,
he's in Philly interviewing.
He's in Philly interviewing. Obviously, I think of all the names that have been out there, Jim Bob Cooter.
Well, we should clarify. I guess they are interving him today. I don't know where it's taking place.
Oh, I didn't hear you say.
I said in Philly.
Oh, we don't know.
They're
interviewing.
Yeah.
I think Jim Bob Cooter's been in the building, but I think of all the guys that have been mentioned as the potential candidates, Daboll's the one with the most connections.
Yeah,
to Sirianni, to Hurts, all this stuff. Sirianni, they used to work together. Obviously, Hurts at Alabama, like Brian Daboll, and again, he's being interviewed for head coach jobs. And the Buffalo thing, he's being linked to, obviously, because would be wild, but he was there.
Yeah,
and the whole
thing,
sure. There's logic to it. But when all the names, like in my mind, I think the Eagles went into this wanting Brian Daboll. I think Brian Daboll is, I know the McDaniel reports out there, Marcus Hayes saying that he's their top priority, and I think Brian Daboll.
Did Marcus Hayes report that? I didn't see
He
that.
reported this morning, yes.
Okay.
Said that McDaniel's their top priority, but they can't get an interview with him. So
they can't get an interview.
They've not been able to secure an interview with him.
Okay, wow.
So according to Marcus Hayes. So we'll see. But for Daboll just seemed to make the most sense. It seemed like the most logical, like would make the fan base happy, make Jalen happy, someone Nick knows, someone who's probably not going to be a coach right away, though this Buffalo thing throws a wrench in it. The Daboll thing.
Yeah, so I'm going to try really hard not to be a downer about the Daboll
thing.
Well,
so for those who honest, if you're new to the pod, I don't know how many new listeners we got for this season, but if you're new, Elliot has long been a Brian Daboll detractor.
Yeah, and I'm going to try not to be a downer. And if they hire him, I won't just make fun of him every episode.
Mm-hmm.
Like I promise you guys that. But since they've not hired him yet, I want to be honest about how I feel about Brian Daboll. Not one time in the past 5 years, or however long he was a head coach, did I hear an Eagles fan say, man, that offense looks awesome. Or like, man, I wish Daboll was running the team. I'm not disputing he has play calling experience, for sure. That is a bonus.
Well, it's a fact.
It is a fact, right? Yeah, but he does. Like, that is an absolute, positive, right? But, he's been in charge of an offense 4 times, and 3 of those offenses sucked. And the only time it was good was when he had Josh Allen. Now, the flip side of that is, in theory, the Eagles have a ton of talent, right? So, you could say that when he's had talent, his offenses have been awesome. That's fair. I think it has disaster written all over it. I think it has Matt Patricia vibes. I think bring him in the building is maybe
why
not good.
You say the Matt Patricia vibes? Why Matt Patricia vibes? Because Matt Patricia,
I think Matt Patricia was not as good of a coach as people made him out to be. And when they brought him in, I thought he was A, bad vibes, which I think Daboll is, and B, I think the name Matt Patricia.
What makes you say Daboll's a head coach? We know he's yelling out, but as far as we never heard anything about bad vibes as an offensive coordinator. What makes you
just
say
the yelling on the sideline?
Right, but that's as a head coach. He never did that in Buffalo. It wasn't like a staple when he went to New York.
No, agreed. I'm saying
what makes you think that it would automatic? And again, that was just on the sidelines. So
yeah. Well, and I think
I'm just saying I don't know that you could say that he's like a bad vibes guy. You know what I mean?
No, right. But I'm saying we all agreed when we saw him on the sideline,
he was a clown on the sideline.
Exactly.
Yeah, but again,
there's the Nick aspect of it. Yeah. There's the Nick aspect of it.
The Nick aspect is with if you're hiring someone who's got some sort of cachet.
I mean the Daboll personality and the Nick personality
having two
on the
fiery guys
together. Yes, that's the point I'm making. So I think Daboll would come here. He would be a veteran.
Imagine both of them just popping off.
In a situation that is already going to be so tense going into next year, having 2 hotheads in control makes me nervous. It just does. Also, while Jalen can say he's over it or whatever, I do wonder how he would feel about a guy coming in that benched him, that was part. Now you could say it was Saban's decision, right?
It was. Yes.
But Daboll was the offensive coordinator. I'm sure Daboll wasn't in there slamming the table for Jalen, right? I just wonder how Jalen would feel about the guy that was somewhat responsible for the most traumatic moment of his life coming in here, right? Can we all picture it week 2, Jalen struggling and people Daboll's going to bench him again, right?
I don't think I get what I think that's a stretch. Maybe Jalen, whatever, but from the public perception, I've never heard I've never heard people even talk about Daboll as part of that room and part of
but Nick he was, and to Jalen he was.
But Nick Saban benched Jalen. I think that is what public. The Jalen thing's separate issue. I'm saying I do not think there will be an Eagles fan who's is it going to bench him again? I don't think people think Brian Daboll benched Jalen. I think people think Nick Saban benched him.
I think Daboll was the one who told Jalen he was benched.
It doesn't matter. Forgetting the Jalen part, I agree with you.
Yeah,
Who knows how Jalen feels? We have no idea.
Saying.
They would know. I'm saying publicly, I do not think there will be a call being like, you could bench Jalen. I don't think anyone thinks Daboll benched him. I don't think anyone.
So I think on paper, Daboll makes sense. But I also think on paper, he's not as attractive as people make him out to be. By the way, I'm not a big fan of this, but like for everyone that, wants like a super creative.
Well, yeah, it's not going
to. The Giants ran less pre-snap motion. They were dead last in the NFL last year in pre-snap motion than the Eagles, right?
That's part of the reason I think it's the most likely hire.
Yeah. Now, I like the idea. Again, I don't.
Which is right, because you're the one
that's
saying,
what I'm saying.
Don't go. Yeah. So
like, I am not.
You would think Daboll would make sense for you.
I'm just surprised fans want him so much. I just think it's because they know the name. Like, I just think.
Well, and I think it's because I'm a believer that some people are great coordinators and not
for sure
coaches, 100%. And vice versa and whatever,
yeah.
and vice, all that. I think that there's a lot of people who say he was a great offensive coordinator, then a bad head coach. He could be a great offensive coordinator again.
But he was a great offensive coordinator.
But Josh Allen, I know. I'm just you're talking about fan perception. I'm not parsing it out. I'm just saying I think that's why.
So if they hire him, I think he would check the box of like the play caller, veteran, all that. I don't think I wouldn't feel much different about the team going into next year than I would have if they like still had Patullo with Daboll. Like,
so I again, and my biggest issue with Patullo was a lack of experience, a lack of feel.
Right. Although now he's gonna. What's interesting? Quickly, sorry. A lot of the coordinators they're interviewing don't have a ton of play calling experience. Zac Robinson has 2 years. Jim Bob Cooter, I think, has 3 years. Mike Kafka, I don't even think he has a full year, if I'm not mistaken. Like the Gizzard guy or Grizzard or whatever they interviewed from Buccaneers has 1 year. So when you look at like Patullo's experience compared to a lot of guys they're interviewing, it's really not that different, which is surprising.
Mm-hmm. But again, it's experience and feel. I think watching Kevin Patullo for a year, at no point did I think he had a feel for play calling. And again, there's a lot of factors or whatever. The point being that Brian Daboll comes in, he's called a lot of plays. And I do think that alone is
a positive.
So personally, the way I feel about Daboll, I've said Mike McDaniel would be my top choice. I do want them to change it up. I want them to push Jalen. I want them to try and be different. But if they're going to go with someone who is not the Mike McDaniel end, Daboll would be my top choice. Like, I think it's a smart choice from the sense of he's got a ton of experience. He had I get that it's not like he's had all kinds of offensive success, but he's worked in big time places with big, smart coaches. And
he'd be used to the market.
He'd be used to, I don't think he'd come in and be,
agreed.
And like, again, I want Mike McDaniel. So I'm saying this with that being the caveat up top. And there's probably other people I would take out of Daboll, but I would rather have Daboll, I know you disagree, than Jim Bob Cooter or one of these guys where if we're going to go with not changing up too much, which is what you wanted, to 10% and all that, I think Daboll makes the most sense.
I think Daboll is a nice happy medium of like what everybody wants. Like, he's a big name. He has experience. He's not going to come in and reinvent the wheel. He's been around Jalen. He's been around Nick. He's been around Saquon, by the way.
That too, yeah.
I wonder how Saquon feels about him. I asked some of my friends that cover the Giants because they were there for that whole Saquon and the clash between the front office where he wanted paid and they wouldn't pay him. And they made it sound like that was basically a Joe Sheen or Shane thing.
Which was the vibe we got from
a Daboll
afar
thing. Yeah. But I think him and Saquon probably get along. I would sure they would ask Saquon.
I think they would ask Saquon.
Yeah. So he's been around Saquon. That's a positive, I would think. I don't know how Saquon feels. We'd have to ask Saquon. But he like has been in the building enough while also being outside. Like there's a lot to like. I think that also he could be a head coach of the offense in the way.
Yeah.
That's one thing too, when we talk about the scheme.
Which is my old thing, which I talk about the 2 years where Nick has had to be less involved in the offense have been his 2 best years.
Right. So if it's working, like Daboll, and this sounds like a dumb thing, but it's not. Like Sean Desai, one of their main issues with Desai was like he just couldn't manage that side of the ball, like the meetings, the scheduling, like being the authoritative voice in the room. Like they didn't feel he was good at that, right? I think with Patullo, there was some of that too, where Nick felt he had to step in. Like I don't think the issue the Eagles had with Patullo was like scheme related. I think the issue was like he needs help on that side of the ball, and so that's why Nick had to step in. Daboll, if things are working, I think could obviously manage that side of the ball. He's managed an entire team. He's been an offensive coordinator multiple times. So that
Coach of the Year, Elliot.
Coach of the Year, which is crazy.
Don't forget.
Whatever.
Coach of the Year winner.
We all agree that was insane. But regardless,
Coach of the Year winner.
I might have to ask Nick, hey, did you ask Daboll just to give you that trophy? Like, was part of the job, like, let's right the wrong. But the other part of it too is I do think while they have like personalities that I think could easily clash if this thing gets ugly, and that brings me back to the Matt Patricia thing where I just thought like keep him out of the building. I also think a flip side of that is like, I think I think Daboll would probably be able to manage Nick in the way of like, they've worked together. He let him.
And they seem like similar to, not just the hothead thing, but they seem like,
they're both
football guys.
They're both beer guys.
Yeah, they're
like,
both exactly. They're both like, let's sit down, have a beer and watch football and talk about football.
So I feel like this is fine to say, but one time I was at a league meeting and everyone stays at the hotel. So like in the morning, you'll see guys like coaches getting coffee, like walking with their family. And I don't know what Daboll's family situation is, but like I was walking in the morning along the water and Daboll is sitting there. It's got to be 9 a.m. if that, drinking a beer and smoking a cigar. Like apparently he smokes like a ton of cigars.
Yeah.
Like to me, I can definitely picture him and Nick like
hanging,
getting along.
Yeah,
my issue is more when it's tense on the sideline. Are their personalities?
No, I get it. And look, I will say,
like
Mike
McDaniel's a cocktail guy. I think Daboll is like a beer guy.
I agree. And yeah,
sounds like a pod title.
I don't. Yeah, that's actually it's great. It's a great title.
McDaniel would walk in like designer sunglasses.
And I don't think by the way, McDaniel driving by that whatever.
Now that's kind of Nicky.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I don't think McDaniel's like a get into fights with people on the sideline kind of guy. You know what I mean?
Really? Okay.
McDaniel?
McDaniel.
I'm saying McDaniel. No,
I'm sorry.
Daboll,
Daboll. Okay.
No.
I was like shocked.
I'm saying McDaniel. I think he's like chill,
yes,
cool, relaxed. So like, I don't think that would be an issue. I agree. I do think with the Daboll thing too, and I don't know what McDaniel. I assume so because I just think McDaniel's a smart coach. And I think he can get through to guys, but I think the Daboll, I do want someone who's going to be willing to coach Jalen hard. You know, that's something that has been talked about, and we don't know how hard he's coached on.
I just think he has been coached hard.
I don't think Kevin Matula's coaching him hard. I
disagree.
I really don't.
Disagree.
Look, we've heard enough.
Jalen did more stuff this year than he ever has.
You've heard it, but I think that was Jalen's choice. Here's the thing. You've heard enough in the building about, and look, the reports of the little Jordan and all that stuff. We've seen, I think that there are people in the building who feel like Jalen carries himself above others or whatever, sure. Right? Like, I think that part of that is not listening to Kevin Matula in the same way. I think that you need someone who's going to come in and yell at Jalen if you need, or someone who's going to coach him hard. And I don't look, Patullo might have, I don't get the impression that Patullo.
So I like a couple of things. One, I don't love the idea of having to bring someone in to yell at Jalen. Like,
I think that's, you always need to do that stuff. Like, again, I think if you're trying to involve someone and teach, we've talked about this, attaboys, like some people respond. Like, I think Jalen might need some tough love. But like, that's part of life.
No, I know, but this coaching staff has gotten, I don't want to say the most because players can always improve, but this exact coaching staff has,
but he's plateaued.
Agreed.
The point is, you need to bring in a new voice. I think new voices are important. I mean, you said the last
100%. I agree with you. I'm just saying I don't love the idea of like we need someone that's going to come in and push Jalen. I think this coaching staff has pushed.
No,
Jalen.
I think you. But again,
now if you want to say a new voice,
get stale, all that. But my point is, I want them to bring in someone who's going to challenge Jalen. I don't think Kevin Matula. I don't know, but I don't think it was a challenging relationship. Like, who knows? But
yeah, I don't know that they seem like they got along. I don't know like what the level of respect and all, like, I just don't know that. Now, if Daboll comes in here and it's like, you know, I wonder if you're Daboll, do you snap one time and be like, yo, I benched you once, you know, like I'm just saying, like, I think that's part of it. That is something Jalen thinks about.
You really are.
Well, he thinks, Jalen still thinks about it. There's no way.
Well, sure.
It's the most traumatic moment of his life, probably, like football wise. I was like, hopefully nothing.
The Super Bowl.
No, I think getting benched was way more traumatic.
Maybe, probably.
I think it was probably more formative. Well, I don't know. Losing the Super Bowl seems to impact him quite a bit. Yeah. Look, I agree. Daboll will definitely, I think, has more of like I don't want to say rude. I want to say D-head.
More of
but
an
I feel
edge to him.
Like, yeah, I think he has more of like, he will yell at Jalen.
Yeah.
Patullo didn't strike me as a yeller.
That's all
I agree with you on that.
That's all I'm saying.
But I also don't love the idea of the franchise thinking they need somebody.
So I do. I'm good with that. Like that. Okay. I think sometimes you need to, especially if people are getting a little high on their horse, so to speak, or whatever.
Right. Well, I just comes across negatively for Jalen.
But that's what it is. And again, this is an if, but if Jalen is acting that way, if Jalen is like acting like he is above Nick or above listening to coaches, or I'm Jalen, like you have to end that. Like that's
I
not
agree.
So I'm saying like that's is what it is. You got to come in and knock him down. Like, and at the end of the day, like, you work for Jeffrey Lurie. Like, Jeffrey Lurie is your boss. Like, he pays your salary. So, like, at the end of the day, you have to put your employees in line sometimes.
The other thing I'll say too, from an Eagles perspective,
like our boss, if I was like, nah, You want me to do that? Nah, I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
It would never work, right? You know?
Right. There is.
It's a different situation. I'm saying Jalen.
Well, I would say there's actually some similarities here in terms of like, not any interactions I see, but in terms of like managing talent, you know, like,
sure. Yeah, of course.
What I was going to say was, I do think though, the Daboll thing too, like, man, you want to talk about a drop off in fan reaction between Mike McDaniel, Daboll, and everybody.
Oh, I know.
Else.
Well, that's
like
the thing.
If they don't get Daboll, and it sounds like they're not going to get Mike McDaniel.
Who knows? Now McDaniel might be doing his head coach interviews. Them worrying about the.
Well, it's good news that the Lions hired somebody.
Yeah.
I'm shocked that they must have not. Did you see the report that
I didn't even see they hired someone?
Yeah, they hired an offense coordinator.
They did.
The guy from the Cardinals. And there was a report.
The Gannon's guy.
Yeah, like
the guy was here.
Zetwig or whatever.
Oh, okay.
No,
different guy.
That's
okay.
a defensive
I
guy.
was thinking the defense guy, the linebacker. Yeah.
But there was a report that the Lions didn't think Mike McDaniel was a fit. Thought that was interesting.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see. I think Daboll, the franchise would feel like they got a big fish.
Yeah, I agree. And to your point, I do think you make a really good point. And it's not the same level as like the Phillies Bo Bichette thing, but it's like a similar idea of
I thought that analogy today on air, by the way, was a leak by me.
Which one?
When just wanted to put that out there.
I'm really happy you feel good about yourself. Which one?
When he was like, getting Bo Bichette. By the way, an athlete where his whole name sounds like a last name. Like one name. Bo Bichette sounds like one name.
One
right?
name.
Yeah.
Bo Bichette. Yeah.
Well, because everyone was
Sounds
like Bo Bichette's the missing piece. Like, and I think there was a lot of disappointment where they didn't get him. And then I think the analogy that I said, which that was good, was
that the offense coordinator won't change.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah. I thought that was good.
Very
good.
I think it'll change more than I think it'll change more than you think it will. But regardless, I think this is probably a better analogy. That the idea of fan reaction to, you know, not getting
people will be livid.
People, if it's Jim Bob Cooter, like the Eagles are in that, and it's not as big a deal because the Eagles have, I think, more grace and just general cachet than the Phillies, and the Eagles have won a title and all that stuff recently.
But people get more mad about the Eagles.
They do. You're right, but I think like it's a similar type of thing where, like the Phillies, the JT versus Bichette thing, the way that played out for them. I think if it's like, you know, Daboll or Cooter, I think it's gonna be a similar type of thing.
So the Jim Bob Cooter thing to me, like, I completely understand the fan outrage. Like, trust me, if you're someone that's like yelling at the radio or whatever now, being like, no, like I get it.
Nope.
But I would also say that if they hired Shane Steichen, people would be over the moon. And I know Jim Bob Cooter is not Shane Steichen, but there are a lot of similarities. Like, has worked with Nick, has worked with Jalen, was just in Indianapolis, has called plays, worked with Stafford.
I get it.
I agree with that, but he has called plays.
Yeah, but he hasn't been great when he's called plays. That's the point. Like when you look at his Detroit teams, like the spots where he's called plays, like at no point was Jim Bob Cooter a great offensive coordinator.
Now at one point he was viewed as like
an up and coming guy.
Yes,
he was.
I think if his name was, you know,
I agree with you. His name is the worst thing.
His name,
it's the worst thing.
Can I ask both you guys something?
Yes.
Like, what's the Zac Robinson hate out there?
I don't think it's hate. I think it's just
whenever he's my top guy, people are like, you have to be kidding me.
I think it's more that McDaniel or Daboll or whatever isn't your top guy, and that it's some unexpected guy. I like Zac Robinson as a candidate. I mean, he's with McVay.
He's working with McVay. The Atlanta offenses were pretty good.
I think he's fine. I think he's fine. I think it's that it's not exciting. It's not a name like those others are. But I think it's more that you have Robinson in front of other people than it is Robinson himself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I'm not putting McDaniel on my list because they haven't interviewed him. But you are right. I guess putting him ahead of Daboll.
I think that's
what it is. It's surprising. Like, he's from the McVay tree.
I'm with you.
He's
I think Zac Robinson's fine. I don't think it's exciting, but I think it's fine. I'd be good with it. Yeah. All right. Anything else?
Tucker. No. Okay. I was asking both you guys. I
don't know why people do that.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask you if you knew why.
People get mad at Zac Robinson. Yeah, I get his makes sense.
Don't you think it's more that it's mad that Zac Robinson's ahead of the people he's ahead of?
Yes, I just think, but like I've seen other people when he's been connected to them, like get upset.
It's crazy.
I think it's weird to have an opinion on Zac Robinson more than other people.
I didn't watch Atlanta snap
because he fits a lot of the you know stuff that people are looking for. You know, theoretically,
it'll be pretty interesting if they only hire a play caller that has like 2 years of experience. Like that's what Patullo would have had this year. So it's
he had one.
I just mean, you know, like it would just be interesting if they actually went out.
You and Patullo really is the funniest of all things because you
know what it is?
were out in the wilderness being like, don't hire him. don't do it. And then somehow you came all
So you know
the way
what this
around.
is, honestly? Like, if we can peel the curtain
Please,
back.
yes.
Like, I think it is unfair how he's being
Yeah,
treated. So everyone's like, you're just doing this for rage bait. Like, no, I think people are being too harsh on him, and I feel a need to defend him. If people are out there being like, he did an amazing job, people should keep him, blah, blah. You're right. I would probably be a little more than on like let's like calm a little bit, right? So I'm not saying Patula's done an amazing job. I just think the like making him public enemy number one is not fair to me. And so when everyone is like out there yelling about it, like I don't think it's fair.
I know.
Yeah.
You're a warrior for justice.
And do you know what the other unfair thing is? I can tell you right now, the offense will be better next year, regardless. They could have no offensive coordinator because although one more question, because I can see you want to go to final thoughts.
Oh, I
but
desperately,
like,
yes.
I know.
Dying to go for a nap. Yes.
How sure are we that like Landon and Cam are going to be like great players for
we are.
3 more
Yeah.
years?
Look, I like the Landon. Who knows how long his career lasts? That's the thing. Joe made this point in the air, and he's right. And we talked about it in the past. We kind of forget. I think we all forget that Landon Dickerson was a second round pick because of all the injuries he had at Alabama. You know, like he should have been a first round pick.
Yeah.
You know, like
now as a person,
and the Cam thing, like I think Landon is better than Cam. I think Landon at his best has shown to be a better player than Cam.
I would mostly agree.
And then on top of that, I think like back surgeries.
Yeah.
You never know. Like not professional, like humans who get back surgery. I feel like it's 50-50 where they're like, yeah, I was never the same. I was ruined by it. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like people just say that. Like, you know, so it's like, you know, I'm not sure.
I just think that's a bigger problem than maybe we're expecting. Like they could hire Daboll. They could draft a really exciting receiver. Like, and then we could get into week one and be like, oh man, like the interior of their offensive line is bad.
Yeah.
And I just, you know, I would love to get an answer on it, but like what the Eagles honestly, they don't really have a choice. Like they have to hope Landon and Cam are better. You're not going to trade for a new center or guard. You're not going to trade Landon or Cam. They're just at the mercy of hoping they're better next year. And it's like a scary thing.